Voice. You're hearing the voice of reason.
Welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You know, when people say where they're from, where they're born, where they were born, you always want, you were from New York. I was born in the Bronx, or I was born in Boston. I was born in Philly. All these great cities. I never had the privilege of boasting where I was born, because I was born in Selma, Alabama. And I was born at a time where we weren't commemorating Selma. Selma was a completely forgotten city. There were no big celebrations about the Bloody Sunday. I mean, every now and then somebody would come through and they would have a march. They would have a march on that weekend or something. But there was never any really big celebration. It wasn't really a city to be proud that you were born from, because if you go through the city and look at it now, you'll realize that the city is really depressed, and and I know this weekend was a great economic boost for it. So I'm excited for Selma. Selma, stand up, give yourselves a hand. You deserve it, because you have legacy. You have, you've birthed a movement. You birthed change. The movement was going on, but you birthed the change that was necessary. So for once in my life, I am so proud. Besides the fact that I just, I don't care. I'm proud of everything about me, and I've always been proud to be from Selma. But I'm busting at the seams, because finally, and I want to thank the director of the movie Selma. Thank you, Ava, for bringing attention back to this forgotten city, because now everyone realizes how important that city was. So next week, I'm not going to be wearing a Boston hat. I'm going to find a Selma hat. And if they don't have one, I'm going to get one made. But yeah, I'm proud. I was born in Selma. And so this weekend, President Obama spoke, and a lot of things happened. But I just want to play a couple of clips of President Obama speaking. And I want to address the fact that the Klan showed up. The Klan showed up, and they were passing out flyers. You could count on them, right? You can always count on them. But first, the most important thing was the speech, the historic speech that the president of the United States, the first African American, the first Black American to be president of the United States, speaking on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, a historical occasion. So I want you to just listen to a couple of clips here.
And moments in America where this nation's destiny has been decided. Many are sites of war. Concord and Lexington, Appomattox, Gettysburg. Others are sites that symbolize the daring of America's character. Independence Hall and Seneca Falls, Kitty Hawk and Cape Canaveral. Selma is such a place.
Selma is such a place. And yes, it is. If you realize the impact, and I think the world does now, but it was forgotten for so long. I mean, it was a city that was depressed for so long. And I hope now that we can, I hope the influx of attention and economic stimulation from all of the travel, I hope it becomes a tourist destination. I really hope it does, because they need it. They need that influx, because if the city, it's drenched in poverty. It is. And it's not really one of those places that you would have been proud to say, I'm from Selma, because really before, unless you were, and let's just be honest, unless you were steeped in African-American history and the civil rights movement, you didn't know all of this occurred in Selma. You didn't. Don't lie. Stop lying. Now, if you knew, that meant that you were well versed in African-American history, or you lived during that time. But the majority of people didn't realize how important Selma was. And so to now have all the eyes of the world, and the leader of the free world, who is a Black man, standing on the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, named after a Klansman. A lot of people want to get that name changed. I don't think it should be changed. I think it should remain the Edmund Pettus Bridge, so it can always be a stark reminder that what they meant for evil, man, let me stop. What they tried to do to suppress us, the more they oppressed us, the greater we became. And so now every time a black president, because there will be more, goes to the Edmund Pettus Bridge, it's just going to be a poke in the eye of the Klan. It's going to be a poke in the eye of people who want to maintain racism. And it's a beautiful thing to see how we've overcome at least that much. I know last night the Sooners lost their mind, or they didn't lose their mind. They were just behaving the way that they have been cultivated to behave. But we still have some victories that we can be thankful for. And Selma started that. Selma was the stimulus. It was already in motion. But when the world saw the violence that peaceful protesters were enduring simply for the right to vote, that's when the tide turned. That's when the opinions of the people changed, and we needed that. We needed to change their opinions. So I'm proud to be from Selma, and I'm even prouder of the President of the United States with this speech. Listen to his words here. Yep.
It's the idea held by generations of citizens who believe that America is a constant work in progress, who believe that loving this country requires more than singing its praises or avoiding uncomfortable truths. It requires the occasional disruption, the willingness to speak out for what is right, to shake up the status quo. That's America.
Yeah.
That's what makes us unique. That's what cements our reputation as a beacon of opportunity.
That's what cements us as a beacon of opportunity. A lot of people, and this is an important point, a lot of people think that if you criticize America, that you don't love America. But you have to understand, okay, let me do this because let me connect these dots and you'll understand what I'm trying to do here. The people who generally say if you criticize America, then you don't love America, they tend to be conservatives. Conservatives in America today tend to be religious, tend to be evangelical Christians, right? And so this idea that you cannot criticize those you love is completely unbiblical. It's completely not a Christian principle. And that's what President Obama was dealing with. He said, we love America. And that's why sometimes you have to protest. There has to be disruption. You have to correct it. You have to bring it. The arc of liberty, the arc of justice may be long, but it tends towards justice. I just ruined that entire quote, but still, you get the point. And so this idea that conservatives try to throw around is that if you criticize America, that you don't love America, is completely antithetical to their own religious beliefs. Their religion, which I have some similarities, but I'm not the same type of Christian as they are because they don't really believe what the Bible says. They just cherry pick what they want that's convenient for their political agenda. But their Bible says that you chastise those whom you love. And so if you love America, according to your Bible, conservatives, you should be able to criticize her. Criticize her because it's going to make her better. So the idiocy of people saying that if you say something bad about our troops, that you don't love it. No, we love our troops. We appreciate our troops. That's why we have to hold them accountable. If you criticize the police, then you're not really you don't love the police. We are grateful for the police. They just need to get their acts together. So this whole premise, and I'm going to do that I'm going to make it my point to expose the religious hypocrisy of conservative Republicans who say one thing in church and do something entirely different. And I don't even know if they could they even say these things in church. You know, do you even preach these things when you go to church on Sunday? Because how can you preach it on Sunday and then forget it when you go into the legislative halls on Monday? This is infantile, imbecilic notion that if you criticize America, that you don't love her. No, quite on the contrary. Thank you, President Obama. We criticize America because we have great expectations for America. We criticize America because we want America to be a more perfect union. And how can it become more perfect if we just leave it as it was? If no one ever criticized America, then women would never have gotten the right to vote. If no one ever criticized America, slavery would still be here. If no one ever criticized America, then the Japanese internment during World War II would probably still have continued. If no one criticized America, Jim Crow would still be standing. If no one criticized America, we would not have the right to vote. We would not be equal. It would still be a segregated society. Brown versus the Board of Education would never existed if someone didn't take the time to criticize America. But the problem is that conservatives want to conserve what America was. That's why they always talk about, let's take America back. Let's take America back. Where are you taking it back to? Pre-civil rights? Pre-Brown versus the Board of Education? Pre-suffrage? Are you taking it back to pre-Civil War? Anyway, so the president, he unpacked that thing beautifully. He said that we criticize America. We critique America because we love America. We disrupt, we protest, we rally, we march because we love it. Because you know what? I was watching a clip from a blaxploitation film, Mandingo. Mandingo, the scene where they were getting ready to lynch the character out of, I forgot his name. Y'all forgive me. I lost my card right there. I can't remember his name. But they were getting ready to lynch him. I guess, was it Mandingo? Somebody correct me on Facebook. They were getting ready to lynch him, and he was lecturing them, saying that this country is as much our country as it is yours. And that's the problem that they have. That's the problem that conservatives have. They don't like the idea that we have just as much right to the promise of America as any of them. And they feel as though if we get those rights, then we're taking rights away from them. And that's where you get all of these, poor, sad sob stories of persecution. Now Christians are persecuted because Muslims have equality in America. Really? White men are persecuted because black men are treated equally. Or men in general feel persecuted because the women's rights movement is so lively and so vibrant. You having liberties. Strike that. Start that sentence over. Me having liberties does not mean you have lost yours. And so this futile and imbecilic plight to maintain and conserve the world, America as it was before all of us got our liberties, conservatism is a failed process, is a failed attempt. You're slowly dying out, and there will be a time when conservatism is not what it is today. It will be totally different, because conservatism today is totally different than it was 100 years ago. That's a whole different episode. But the point is this: we criticize America because we have great expectations for America. Thank you, President Obama, for illuminating that. That was worth listening to the entire speech. But he went on. He continued with this.
Right now, in 2015, 50 years after Selma, there are laws across this country designed to make it harder for people to vote. As we speak, more such laws are being proposed. Meanwhile, the Voting Rights Act, the culmination of so much blood, so much sweat and tears, the product of so much sacrifice in the face of wanton violence, the Voting Rights Act stands weakened. Its future subject to political rancor. How can that be? The Voting Rights Act was one of the crowning achievements of our democracy, the result of Republican and Democratic efforts. President Reagan signed its renewal when he was in office. President George W. Bush signed its renewal when he was in office. 100 members of Congress have come here today to honor people who are willing to die for the right to protect it. If we want to honor this day, let that 100 go back to Washington and gather 400 more, and together pledge to make it their mission to restore that law this year. That's how we honor those on this bridge.
That's how we honor those on this bridge. So it's hard to imagine the level at which conservatives are trying to undo all of the work that was accomplished by people who sacrificed their lives literally, by those who were beaten, those who were attacked with dogs, those who were hosed down with fire hoses. That there are some in Congress who want to undo this. I mean, even the Supreme Court has struck down key provisions in the Voting Rights Act. And the conservative Republicans have moved so far to the right, so far that they are not even following in the footsteps of Ronald Reagan or George W. Bush. That now this legislation is in question. That should let you know the nature of what we're dealing with and what we're fighting against. Conservatism has gone astray. Conservatives today are not the conservatives of even Ronald Reagan. And I think Ronald Reagan was pretty extremist with his economic policies. But now the conservatives have been hijacked by this ideology that is destructive not only to the party, but to the nation and to the religion that they have subscribed to. You know, they're doing damage all across the board. You're not only ruining America, you're not only ruining your party, you're ruining your faith. Because you're forwarding these ideas and you're challenging the basic tenets of equality and justice for which America stands, for which the Bible stands. But you guys have lost your way. I'm going to be honest with you. We need a vibrant, energized, intellectually astute Republican Party. Because you are the only counterbalance to the evils that can, emphasis on the word can, C-A-N, that can come from a single party rule. That would happen to be Democratic. The Democratic ideologies are not pure. There's some bad things and there's some bad things from the left. Absolutely. There's some places on the left that we should not go. There can be totalitarianism on the far left, just like it could be on the far right. We just call it socialism, real socialism, not there, and not even socialism, communism. We just call it communism on the left, and we call it fascism on the right. But it's still totalitarian rule. It's still authoritarian rule. So we need a strong GOP that's not a bunch of imbeciles, a bunch of clowns like a freak show stumbling over themselves to see who can be the most ignorant. Because you are the only counterbalance to the ignorance and the evils that can come from a one-party rule. So I'm begging you, stop being so stupid. Stop saying stupid things. Stop doing imbecilic things. Stop offending everybody who isn't white and Christian and male. You have managed to offend everyone that is white, Christian, and male that is not white, Christian, and male. And so you're going to be a dying out party, and there's nothing that we can do about it. But the president has illuminated that there is a fight right now just to preserve the progress that the people marched for in Selma. All right, and then the president closed it out. If there was an organ somewhere to be found, I would have played it because the president, he took it on home right here. Listen to what the president said.
From Bloody Sunday, our march is not yet finished, but we're getting closer. 239 years after this nation's founding, our union is not yet perfect, but we are getting closer. Our job's easier because somebody already got us through that first mile. Somebody already got us over that bridge. When it feels the road's too hard, when the torch we've been passed feels too heavy, we will remember these early travelers and draw strength from their example and hold firmly to the words of the prophet Isaiah. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on the wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. We honor those who walked so we could run.
Yes, sir.
We must run so our children soar, and we will not grow weary, for we believe in the power of an awesome God, and we believe in this country's sacred promise. May he bless those warriors of justice no longer with us and bless the United States of America. Thank you, everybody.
And until that moment comes, when we, the Americans, are able to accept the fact that on that continent we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other, that I am not a ward of America. I am one of the people who built the country. Until this moment.
That we are brothers. It's not a question of Jews or Christians or Muslims. We're all in the same boat.
We need each other.
Love is a condition so powerful. It may be that which holds the stars in the firmament.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
Love.
Until this moment.
I come to you today to say that we can build a newer and better nation. I say we can do so, that we must do so, and that we will do so.
You've tuned in to The Benjamin Dixon Show. Visit us online at www.thebenjamindixonshow.com.